Good evening, everyone. This is the April 21st, 2021 meeting of the East Long Meadow Planning Board. I'm going to call the roll. Tide Richards is here. George Kingston is here. John Torsha is here. Myself, Russell Denver. We're joined by Bethany Yao, the Director of Planning and Community Development, and Rebecca Jones from the Office of Planning and Community Development. Yes. So I'm required by Mass General Law to indicate that this meeting is being recorded by LCAT. And if there is anyone else in the audience, would you please raise your Zoom hand so you can be recognized and brought into the meeting and indicate how you are recording the meeting.
We do have one hand.
Okay.
We have another hand too, or I guess people are recording.
Pretty popular meeting tonight.
So there's someone on the screen says user, U-S-E-R. We don't see you. We can't hear you. Can you identify yourself, please?
We are here, Stephanie Lee and Anthony Nguyen. We are applying for the business certificate at 51 Prospect Street.
Okay, so you're a little early. So if you can just hold on 1 second, please. Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
So I guess there is not one here who is recording this meeting. So the first matter of business would be the approval of our last meeting minutes. I hope everyone's had an opportunity to review them. They would be the meeting of April 7th. So if everyone's had an opportunity to review them, are there any corrections or suggestions to the minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved, George.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. By roll call, Mr. Richards?
Yes.
Mr. Kingston?
Yes.
Mr. Torsha? John, we can't hear you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And I'm a yes as well. So that that matter passes. First item of business, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, case SPRW 2021-14, request for site plan review waiver for the Baker Mama, a home office for a cottage food licensed home baking business at 12 Cross Meadow Road, assessors parcel ID 61-52-42 on a 0.59 plus or minus acre site in the residential A zoning district. The applicant is Allison Rush, 12 Cross Meadow Road, East Long Meadow, Mass.
Hello, Allison.
Hi,
Thanks.
how are you?
Thanks for joining us again. So I'm going to turn it over to Bethany because she was charged with trying to see how other communities handle this in the region and what we might do moving forward. So I'll go to Bethany.
Sure. So I looked into our neighboring communities. It seemed like most of them did not directly address cottage food operations in their bylaws, except for Wilbraham, and they had an insertion under their home occupations or home offices bylaw regarding home-based cottage food operation exemptions, and that basically says that they will not require a special permit approval from the Board of Appeals as long as they are compliant with the residential kitchen permit from the Board of Health, and also as long as they comply with the requirements imposed by the Massachusetts Department of Public Health regulations. So that is what I've passed on to the board, and
I believe Mr. Kingston might want to interject here.
Yeah, I would suggest that what we need to do is to modify the zoning bylaw, okay? I know this is going to take some time, maybe a couple of months, but it's, I think, the right way to proceed. What I would suggest is that under the existing use of home office, we add the cottage industries to that that use line and add the wording of the Wilbraham bylaw to as an additional line on that those requirements. And what that would do, it would allow the use with the proper license and Board of Health, and also restrict it the same way we restrict other home offices, basically saying that there's a certain percentage of the house that can be used for this. I think it's 20%, and that there are no customers coming to the house. It's not a retail business where people are coming. You're selling off-site, basically. What is involved there is that we would have to hold a hearing, which will take at least 2 weeks because we have to advertise it. It might be a month. And then we send it to the Board of Selectmen, who have to hold a hearing
Town
and
council.
discuss it. And we have no control over how long they take to do that. But I don't see it as a huge issue for them. So, and this way we'd be doing it properly, okay, as opposed to just opening it up to manufacture of anything at home. And I know this is going to take some time, Ms. Rush, and I appreciate that it's going to slow up your business, but it's I think I'm proposing is the right way to do it. And I'd make a motion to ask Bethany to draft that change to the bylaw and advertise a hearing.
Before you make a motion, George,
Yeah.
may I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm just thinking out loud now. Since this is something that we don't have in our bylaw, but we're going to move forward and add it, how does the board feel about a temporary approval, provided that all of the health, required health permits and safety measures and things like that are adhered to? And let's say it's a 90-day temporary or something like that, in order to give us time to complete what you're describing, George.
I would be in favor of that as long as Allison, should I call you Allison or Mrs. Rush or Miss Rush?
Allison's fine.
Allison.
Mrs. Rush makes me feel old.
Okay. So imagine how I feel. So you just would have to realize that potentially, town council or this board after hearing could potentially turn that down.
Yeah, yep.
George, John, what are your thoughts?
I think I would be on board with something like that. I think putting on language not only will help Allison in this case, but if somebody similar in her situation who wants to do some small scale operation, it would be beneficial to have it within the bylaw. So constructing it, making those limitations, practical limitations, I think is a smart way to go. But if we do something that is temporary here, one time, I think, in my estimation, I would be comfortable with that.
I would agree with that, provided that the other requirements under the home office are met.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the bylaw.
Okay. So I guess, so procedurally, I always refer to George for the process. Procedurally, what steps do we need to take, George?
Well, I think if we want to do this with a temporary one, that we would issue a temporary waiver of site plan for 90 days with the restrictions that we discussed, and vote on that, and then vote on the, make a motion and vote on the proposed bylaw change. Okay. And I think 90 days with the potential to extend it if town council decides they're going to drag their feet on it. That would work for me.
Okay. Is that in the form of a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to that effect.
Do I have a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
All right, discussion, John?
Just as a procedural question, so we need to make a motion to initiate the process of putting together a bylaw.
we're gonna have to take two votes, I guess. One is to do the temporary waiver of a site plan. And then the second one will be the vote to have Bethany initiate the process of amending the zoning ordinance. So this is on the temporary waiver of the site plan. So there's a motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, by roll call, Mr. Richards,
Yes.
Mr. Kingston,
Aye.
Mr. Torsia. We can't hear you, John.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. So that's on the first item. The second item on authorizing Bethany to initiate the change to make the amendment to the zoning ordinance. Do I have a motion and a second on that? George, you're muted.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, second.
I'll second that.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, by roll call, Mr. Kingston,
Aye.
Mr. Torsia,
Yes.
Mr. Richards,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. So best of luck to you, Allison.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Here.
And Bethany, I will send you suggested wording, and you can play with it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, case SPRW 2021-15, request for site plan waiver for a Western Mass lawn signs, a home office for a lawn sign business at 45 Merlene Avenue, assessors parcel ID 2B-29-A, on a .35 plus or minus acre site in a residential C zoning district. The applicant is Aubrey Leary, 45 Merlene Avenue, East Long Meadow, Mass.
Is the petitioner available to come into the meeting? So Aubrey, you're, oh, hi, okay. You're muted still.
Sorry,
Okay.
full issues.
Not a problem. Welcome to the meeting.
Hi,
So,
thank you.
so tell us a little bit about what you have in mind for your home-based business or for your business and, hours of operation, that type of thing.
So Western Mass Lawn Greetings will be a business primarily and solely for greetings for your lawn. They're individual signs on lawn stakes. They spell out messages on your lawn: happy birthday, happy anniversary, congrats grad. In my home, I will be storing the signs and conducting my business in my office.
So I'm going to ask Bethany on this. So I guess the most basic question is those type of lawn signs allowed under the zoning ordinance?
I believe temporary signs are. That is
Okay.
a good question, though.
So how, so
okay.
Aubrey, did you look that up before you file for this site plan waiver?
I'm going to be completely honest, I did not. They're temporary signs, just like as if you would have a sign for a politician, staked into the ground. It's not
The same. Not the same thing. So,
Hey, if I might,
yeah.
Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, they're not commercial signs, okay? They're not selling something. So they fall under the free speech thing. Last year, we had a ton of signs in town congratulating graduates, okay, for instance. And that did not cause any problems and seemed to be allowed by the building inspector, who's the sign guru. So this comes under, the same thing I think is political or religious speech. If I want to say happy birthday to somebody, I don't think that's a big deal, as long as I'm not selling something by doing it, okay? That's my own personal opinion.
So Bethany, do you have access to the zoning ordinance and can you read the language for temporary signs?
Sure, I'm just pulling it up.
because I was actually surprised that those, best wishes to the Spartans of 2020 were up for like 8 months in a row. The go slow signs were up all year long. It got to be, I guess, in my humble opinion, almost sign visual pollution, but we'll see.
Yeah, these signs would be just for a max of 24 hours. So they would be, a customer would rent the signs for a 24-hour span, and then they'd be removed from their premises.
Oh, they're renting. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
They're not a permanent stature, no.
Okay. But Bethany, do you have the temporary language?
Yep. Let me see. They have election signs. Temporary banners of any size are not permitted unless approved by the planning board, but I don't think this would be a banner.
No.
They don't really say anything about it. They just have election signs, nonprofit message signs, like tag sale signs, have a limit.
Okay. John, you had a question?
Yeah, through the chair. So I'm guessing it sounds like these would be probably about the same size as like those graduation signs. We're not talking more than maybe a few feet, like maybe slightly bigger than a campaign lawn sign would be, right? We're not talking like put it in the ground like a stake.
Yes, the stakes, but they'd be individual. So each letter would have its own stake.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they would in span be about 20 feet long with
But
each letter
But
spelled
temporary
out.
as a matter of maybe just a few days or a day.
Well, I guess our major concern is planning board is whether the business, can operate from her home, and whether the signs comply or not. Really, I think would be up to the planning or would be up to the building inspector, who is in charge of administering the sign regulations. So, all right. Any other questions for the petitioner? But I like the idea of renting. That's kind of cool. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It has a I'm affiliated with another company down in Texas, and it is a very, very popular item down there.
Okay.
The only thing I would add, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
is under 590B, what we have right now is message signs shall be those signs displaying a political, religious, or other non-commercial free speech message, which is what we're talking about, other than those allowed under 581, which is a separate section. But it does say each sign shall not exceed 6 square feet in size. However, if the individual letters are less than 6 square feet, then I think that kind of allows it.
Okay. Do we have a motion to grant the waiver?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that one.
Any discussion? Hearing none. By roll call, Mr. Torsia,
Yes.
Mr. Richards,
Yes.
Mr. Kingston,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Best of luck.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Take care. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Case SPRW 2021-16, 51 request for site plan review waiver for VL Hair Salon, a hair salon at 51 Prospect Street, Assessor's Parcel ID 27-154A-A on a .23 plus or minus acre site in the business zoning district. The applicant is Stephanie Lee, 153 Canterbury Circle, East Long Meadow, Mass.
Hello. So we can't see you and we can't hear you yet.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Can you put your camera on, please?
Yeah, I try.
There you go.
There
Yep.
we go.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you for taking time to take up our request for the business licenses in 51 Prospect Street.
Yep.
My name is Anthony Nguyen, and my wife is Stephanie Lee. She's the applicant, and she's still at work. So this is going to be her second location of business, and will be in the future, probably a couple of months from now, it's going to be one and only one business, because she's now scaling down her business. She worked so hard for the last 17 years with a big salon and a lot of employees. Now she's going to work by herself in a big location in the future.
Okay.
Yes.
What are the anticipated hours of operation?
The operation is from Tuesday to Saturday from 9:30 to 6:30 or 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And
what-
she will have 2 chairs, no employee.
Okay.
She works by herself.
And what's in the what currently is in that location or was in that location?
That location had roughly 3 units are currently occupied. Upstairs is people massage. And then on the right, the left side is the hair and nail salon.
Mhm.
And the right side is going to be Stephanie new hair salon.
Okay.
And then in the basement, it's still vacant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any members of the board have questions?
Which building is this? Is this the one next to the church or the one across the street?
Yeah, across from the church, sir.
Across from the church.
Yes, on the 51 Prospect Street.
Okay, because on the agenda it says 52. It does say 51, but when I call up 51, it shows me the old building that's next to the church.
Yeah,
So
it's just
this
the
is-
white. Yeah, the white building is the church right across from us.
That's across from you. Okay.
Actually, the parking lot is across from us.
Okay.
Yeah, the church parking lot. I
Yeah,
believe so.
I know where you are now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You are very welcome.
Other questions from the board? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the waiver?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second that.
Motion made and second by roll call. Mr. Richards,
Yes.
Mr. Torsia,
Yes.
Mr. Kingston,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Best of luck to your wife.
Thank you very much for
Sure.
all of your help today.
All right, take
And,
care.
Rebecca and Bethany.
Good.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Okay, next item is Mr. Richards.
We have other business, and the first one is housing choice.
Okay,
I
So
think
George, do you want me to start, George, or do you?
please, you
jump
start,
in?
Bethany, please.
Okay, I'll just give a brief overview. So we recently had on January 14th, Chapter 358 of the Acts of 2020 incorporated several new provisions for the housing choice legislation. This is primarily an economic development effort, and George, correct me if I'm wrong, because there's still a lot of guiding documents that's coming out and webinars that are coming out to help everyone understand how this affects us. It won't really affect us unless we have a zoning amendment that fits into the criteria, and in that way it would change the voting, either from a supermajority to a simple majority. And I think that's the biggest way that it will affect us. But George, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I wanted to make sure that Bethany got the information to everybody on the board, because there was some confusion. One of the board members from Longmeadow called me up in a lather because he thought it was going to force us to change the zoning bylaw, but it doesn't. We are not a commuter or an MTA town, so there's nothing that we have to do. It enables us to do certain things with less of a majority, but that really doesn't affect, I think, this board, because we tend to come to a consensus anyway. So, but I want to make sure everybody had the information, because there was a lot of misinformation floating around out there about it. and we needed to clarify it was all. But I thank Bethany for getting the information to all of us and so that we could understand what was going on.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone has any questions about it.
Yeah, if there's still questions, I'm still learning more. I know in some of the planners community events that we've been having, it's on the agenda for a couple months from now, just as a recap. So I will probably have more information over the course of the year.
Any questions from the board? Hearing none. Next item is director's report.
I'll just do a quick update on the master plan. As you all know, we have the draft master plan, and we've been circulating that and collecting comments and sending them back to the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. Our next master plan committee meeting is next Wednesday, the 28th. Most likely starting at 4 p.m., but I don't have the agenda yet, so I will send that out. If anybody's interested in attending, feel free to.
So Bethany, I'd just like to just put one comment out there. So
Sure.
the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission is fond of affordable housing. I think that in our document that needs to be put into context. So they reference that East Long Meadow, I think, is at 7.4%. I would like them to put in the current statistics for the surrounding communities so that the future decision makers of the town can see where we stand with respect to our surrounding communities. And from the time that I've sat in on the visioning committee and the master plan focus groups and so forth, I heard more reference to moderately priced housing options rather than affordable housing under the terms 40B that the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission would use. So I'm concerned about the decision makers knowing the difference. And so I would like them to either add additional language, explain what the terms really mean. I think it needs some further clarification. I'm not opposed to affordable housing, but I'm just trying to put it into context so that people can, make the most responsible decisions moving forward.
Sure, that makes sense. I'll email that over to Ken tomorrow morning.
I was pleased with most of it. I thought it was really data driven, which I thought is really important. Very, very important friend of mine once said, "In God we trust, all others bring data." So I like that because I think decisions should be made based upon data and not emotion. So I was pleased with most of it. Yeah.
Good to hear.
Any other?
Yeah, if anyone has any other comments, feel free to send them over. It's quite a long document, so even if you just read certain sections of it and have comments, that's fine. We really do want as many comments as possible so we can make sure it's a reflection of the community.
I think
sorry,
go ahead.
go ahead.
No, you go. You go.
Oh, I was just going to give a quick update on the local rapid recovery plan. We finished up the surveys last week. That was a pretty quick, things are moving very quickly with that because we're running on the state's agenda or schedule rather. So we will be trying to nail down some of the recommendations for that corridor on North Main Street. George, if you are available and want to be in on that conversation, or if any of you have any recommendations for streetscaping, temporary pedestrian lanes, something that we could do, it would have to be a quick implement project versus a long-term project.
Well, I'm going to interject if I could, George. So one thing I find it kind of disturbing down there is we have very narrow, what I would refer to as tree belts. I mean, like they're about a foot wide, and most of the time there's nothing in there whatsoever. It would be nice to be able to define the tree belt with either, decorative rock or actual grass or something like that, which would create some visible lines there. I think there are sections that are filled in with concrete that don't look good. So I now that the weather is nicer, my walking takes me further down North Main Street towards Springfield, and so I've noticed this my last few walks. So
Yeah, it's also very loud, which I didn't notice until I walked that area. It's so loud, you can't have a conversation easily. So that's just interesting perspective, being on the ground versus in the car.
yeah, George, I'm sorry I interrupted. Yep.
I say we might actually consider street trees where appropriate.
Yeah.
Street trees cut noise, they look good, and right now it just looks strip mall like.
Yeah, I think moving forward when we do site plans, one thing that I'm going to kind of recommend is to for us to have them put in greenery on that tree belt rather than filling it with concrete. Because a lot of times what happens, and it does happen, is people end up parking where it's supposed to be the tree belts and it's all concrete and they think it's just continuation of the parking. And it doesn't, then it limits the sidewalk, the use of the sidewalk to pedestrians. And if we're trying to create more walking, that is one way to potentially look at it as well. So.
Yep. The other thing I've been trying to work on is just some more economic development opportunities. So I've partnered with Nancy Connors at the Chamber, and we are working on organizing a restaurant week for East Long Meadow. And she is also working with our neighboring communities to see if they are interested in joining us in that. So we're at the very preliminary stages of that, but we're just hoping to get a meeting in by early May and start that conversation. Just something to celebrate our restaurants. It's been very difficult for them over COVID, and I'd like to try to promote our local eateries and get people eating out again.
So Bethany, just so the board is aware, do you want to give an update on where we are with the court case with PLH?
I don't actually have a solid answer for you right now. I just got an email from Michael
Attorney Pill this morning. Yep.
Yep.
So there's a preliminary hearing on a summary judgment, which essentially the court would hear oral arguments from both the town and from PLH and then make a decision rather than having a full-blown trial. I think that is scheduled, well, there's a conference on that scheduled for next Monday. I plan on
April 26th.
Yeah, I plan on at least sitting through the first 45 minutes of that anyway. So, well, I have a work call after 45 minutes. So that's still out there. There are a couple of different actions going on related to this matter. So we just need to make sure we keep a close eye on it as well.
Sure. And did everybody get that Zoom information? And if not, I have it and I can send it out.
That would be great. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Anything
That's
else?
all our updates.
And what's our May first meeting in May agenda look like?
We do have a special permit for Friendlies. They're having a change of ownership. Same franchise, obviously, but different ownership. So they're coming before us, and I just received their application this afternoon. So that will get processed, and I believe it will make it to the first meeting in May.
Any other questions for Bethany? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, George.
Do I have a second?
Seconded, John.
And we have to do it by roll call. John Torsia,
Yes.
Tide Richards,
Yes.
George Kingston,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Good night, everybody. Have a
Good
good
night.
night.
Aye.
All right.